I love creating journals with different types of binding techniques. A story within my heart was created using a no sewing binding method, an incredibly easy way of connecting your pages together and then forming a faux spine using a piece of fabric or a piece of lace. Incredibly easy to create, especially if you're scared of sewing your pages together and you like having more of an organic look to your book. And it's a perfect beginner-friendly project to incorporate into your journal making. I'm going to be sharing with you my technique for how I like to bind my pages without a sewing machine, without a sewing needle. I'm experimenting with different techniques for different ways that we can create our journals. This is one of the techniques that I really like using right now because it's super easy and you get a really nice result. I'm going to be using my previous journal as an example. This journal is pretty stuffed, and that's why it looks as if it's 2 inches thick, just because of all the ephemera. But if I were to take those pieces out, the binding of the journal is actually about 1 inch thick. I think that anything thicker might make the journal look a little wonky, and it might warp the binding or the pages on the inside. So to explain this technique a little bit further, I'm going to be finishing up the binding for my little Polaroid journal. This is a journal that I wanted to make using the little Polaroid kit in my shop from the pieces of her digital kit, as well as Poetic Petals. I'm just using a mix of the newest digitals in my shop. So to create this technique, what you're going to have to do is have your covers ready. So however you like to build your covers, if you like to layer them, if you like to use fabric covers or paper covers, make sure you have a front cover and a back cover prior to starting this project. So this is my front and this is my back. And the great thing about this technique is that you can apply it to any size journal. The spine is the only thing that you want to keep within 1 inch or less, but the width and the height of your actual cover and back cover can be as tiny as you'd like or as large as you'd like. Apart from your front and back cover, you also need your inside pages. For this tutorial, I'm only using 3 papers so that you can see how easy it is to bind them using this technique and so that you don't get overwhelmed. But once you know the steps, you can repeat them with as many pages as you'd like, making sure you keep it within 1 inch. So my first page is just vintage ephemera that I have folded slightly to fit the dimension of my back page. This is just a normal craft piece of paper. In order to connect this to my front page, we're going to be using a strip of paper. I am going to be using a scrap piece of a digital that was left over, and as you can see, this is going to act as the connector to our front page and our second page. On the back side, you want to apply adhesive, and I'm just using Fabri-Tac. And what you want to do is you want to take the white side of your paper, the back side, and connect it to our first page. And now you have created a little connector to your first page that will easily be able to be glued on top of your second page. So now you want to repeat that same step. What I like to do is take my second page and put it up until the edge over here, and then just fold your paper over like that. You're essentially just connecting your first page and your second page like a puzzle so that they meet in the middle, and then you use your connector, which is in this case our piece of paper, to glue both pieces of paper together. And now you have successfully created the first part of your signature. Now I want to share with you a different technique and a different way that you can also create the same effect. You can take your piece of paper and just fold a strip of it on the side that will then be glued on to your paper. So you can do it both ways. You can use a scrap piece of paper to connect both together, or you can take your existing piece of paper and just fold the excess over and use that little fold to then connect it to your page as well. I placed my adhesive on that strip, and we're going to attach it right on top of the craft paper. And by doing this, now you have created another part of your signature. And that is how you create essentially a signature of journal pages without needing to sew anything. This is the time that you can go ahead and decorate, add your ruffles, paint, add collage, whatever you want to do to your signature. I'm going to be decorating it once the book has been bound for the purpose of this tutorial. So let's begin connecting our front cover to our signature pages. This is the back of my front cover, and all I'm going to do, since this has a little extension, I'm just going to open this up, my little flip. I'm going to take this flap that was left over. Remember, this is our front page. And we're going to repeat the same technique, adding glue on the flap and then turning this over and gluing it to the back of our front cover. So I have my glue, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to connect both edges together and then fold my paper over. So now we have essentially connected all of our pages to our front cover. You want to really make sure that you have applied enough glue, because if you don't, later on your signatures will fall off from the front cover, and you definitely want to avoid that because then your whole journal basically comes apart. For the back side, I want to show you how you can achieve that same result, but this time I'm going to use a piece of ribbon. So I have just applied glue on the edge of my back paper and also applied glue on the edge of my back cover, or the inside of my back cover. And we're going to take our ribbon and add it right on the edge. And I'm going to use the ribbon to connect the back cover to the back page. Using the ribbon, you have connected your back paper to your back cover. Now, once you have achieved this step and you have finished essentially the structure of the construction of your journal, if you look closely, you can see that the spine is unfinished as all of the papers are exposed, and it's not the prettiest to look at. So in order to create a beautiful spine to cover essentially all of those papers up, I am going to be using some lace as well as some velvet. You want to make sure you pick a lace that is thick enough to wrap around the spine of your book, which is why if you're using this method, and the thicker that your pages are, the thicker your piece of fabric or lace needs to be to kind of cover up all of your pages that make up your signature. And now I'm just going to make sure I trim the lace to the size of the edge of my book. So I'm going to start on the back and essentially just add your glue to the back of your cover, and then you're just going to place your lace right on top. Once you have applied your lace to the back, you want to turn it around, and we're going to apply glue, just a strip of it right on the edge here, and then we're going to fold that lace over to connect everything together. The lace is not only decorative, but it's also very functional. And now the edge of your journal is finished because you have hidden away all of those papers that make up the signatures. And depending on the lace that you use, the ribbon that you use, the effect will be different. I just love using lace because it just blends in nicely with any paper that you use. And then if this bothers you, you can always cover this up with other papers or other laces. You can make a pocket, you can make so much. That's the beauty of creating a journal with this type of technique, is that everything can be added on top of each other. You can add more pieces to the spine. You can add more papers on the inside by hinging them together. It's just so easy and so much fun. This is completely optional, but I have this little piece of velvet ribbon, and I am just going to attach it to this part of our spine and wrap it around, just so that we have a little bit more layering on the edge of our spine, as that's something that I always love to do. I like to add layers to my journals so that there's little colors and little textures everywhere that you look. I just applied adhesive to the back of my velvet ribbon, and I'm going to connect it right along the edge there, and then turn it around. Whatever piece of decorative ribbon or fabric that you want to add as like an accent piece, you want to just fold it around the spine. Once you're done attaching the lace as well as your decorative piece of fabric, if you choose to, you are finished creating your journal. So this is the technique and the method that I used to create a story within my heart. You can see completely different color palette, completely different theme, but the construction of the spine was made using the same technique. I just added more layers, and of course it's a thicker journal, but this is exactly how I attached my pages together to form the signatures within my book. Taking the previous page and then adding and gluing little extensions to the next page. On this page, which is part of the front cover, you can see right here, I just took my piece of paper and extended it to the first page of the journal. So I really hope that that helped answer your questions, and I hope that it was a helpful tutorial. What I love about this technique is that it's so easy to build upon it and start creating a more simpler journal, and then as you get comfortable, add more layers, add more dimensions, and then you can create different types of journal covers and journal pages using this binding technique that's very simple and very easy. It's such a great way to spend more time on actually decorating your book instead of taking so much time to create the spine, then bind the pages. This is just the perfect way to make the pages and connect them to your covers and add all of those special little ephemera pieces on the inside. So I'm really excited to share with you all of the journals that I am creating using this technique, as well as experimenting with other ways to bind and create the journal covers and the pages. I definitely will be back to share with you all of the finished journals that I'm currently working on. They all will be filled up with ephemera pieces, and I definitely am going to be adding more layers to them so that they're little sister journals of the one that I have previously shared with all of you. They all have a story to be told, and I can't wait to share with you all the finished flip throughs and finally be able to offer some hopefully beautiful journals that you all love in my shop. So until next time, I hope that you're having a wonderful day wherever you are. I hope that this tutorial was helpful and answered your questions. I will talk to you all very soon, sharing with you more of the projects that I am currently working on.